and their food is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that because that's up here by me. So, and I've seen it in the center there, and I said I'll have to check it out.
Okay, good night. Okay, guys, we are now live. Made me hungry. Huh? Talking about all those fancy restaurants. But probably after the nice conversation, I probably need to go do some push-ups and read a book, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I want to welcome everybody to Fatherhood Talks. This is the Think Tank for Fathers. We are live on not Facebook, we're live on YouTube. So you can like, share, subscribe, join us every Tuesday night. My name is Ron Osborne Williams. I'm a father. And we have a panel of fathers that we're going to have a lively discussion and conversation tonight about mental health versus physical health. And I think that, a lot of times when we're thinking about this, it really it's actually leading us into our conversation for tomorrow night in our private fatherhood talk conversation about men's health. And even that this is a case, I guess I'm using this platform tonight also to advertise another program by some young ladies. They will be having a 2022 men's mental health conference on Saturday morning. I will give some more information towards the end of this and how people can. We're going to put the flyer up for a minute, and as well as put the link so you can log in to register for that conference for men. So fathers, if you're out there, definitely this is something you want to do. So tonight we're going to be talking about mental health versus physical health. And if you can see the flyer, if you can see the pen picture we have, it's pretty powerful. You see the brain and you see the heart. It talks about those two things that you need to survive. And one of those things is they operate together. Enough of that. Let's get to the fathers in the room tonight on the panel, and the fathers who are just sitting back in the space, just listening, or just here to fill their cup up with some knowledge. Go ahead, guys.
J. Robert Menard, father of 2 young adults. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Frederick Adams, father of 3, 1 grandson.
Good evening, gentlemen. Ed Tenney, father of 3 biologicals, 3 step, and 1 very pretty 6-month-old granddaughter.
Good evening, everyone. Larry Jordan, boy and a girl, grown, 1 grandchild, and I just want to say I'm 67, but I feel like 51, Lionel.
Well, since you said that, good evening. My name is Lionel Lightbourne. Coincidentally, the birthday boy today, officially. I'm 51 today, officially. I have a tribe of 7 children, not children, but young adults, 4 young men, 3 young women, and 1 granddaughter who is extremely demanding and a diva in her own right. So it's always a pleasure to be here.
Is that everybody?
Who's there? Eddie Tenney, is it?
Ed already went. Did you go, Rohan?
Yeah, no, I'll go ahead. Hi, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be on the Fatherhood Talks. I have 2 young daughters. It's a pleasure being here and sharing the knowledge. Thank you.
And so if that's everybody, gentlemen, let's get right into this. And I'm going to read something to you guys, and I then want to see what you have to say. And this is probably so important especially for us, especially if we get a certain age. I don't even think it matters about age, as we really think about as if we want to be here no matter what age for our children. If you have a problem with your mental health, it shows up in your body. If you have a problem with the health of your body, it will affect your mind and how you see the world. So when you think of that, as fathers, what does that tell us we need to do, or what do we need to start thinking about, and stop being stubborn and stop being, I know everything. I mean, I just was getting my, before the big party on Friday, I was seeing my physician. Shout out to Dr. McQuarter over there in Fort Lauderdale. I'm just saying, I know my mind is good, so I had to go and make sure the body's good. And I had to do that not so much for me, but for my child. Because I'm sure they don't want to be here alone without me to kind of carry them on. So I'm just curious. Any thoughts about this idea of our bodies and our minds being in one?
I have to jump in there. I got to jump in there, Ron. I'm gonna tell you why. I think when we talk about mental and both physical, and particularly men, doing it and being it for the right reasons is where I think we fall short. So I think we get in physical condition, right? We get in good physical health to get in the wrong mental health. No, seriously, I'm talking about not so much to empower, but to indulge, if that makes any sense. And so we're talking about getting in the right physical health for the wrong mental health, which means you empowering your body, but you're just gonna indulge in the wrong things. Like you want to be promiscuity and stuff like that, and then and do more partying than you do actually more constructive things that would not only just empower you, but the people and the person, places, things around you and ideas around you. Then yeah, you're doing all the right physicalities, but for the wrong mental reasons. Being that as it may, my since you dropped name dropping doctors, my doctor, young guy too, probably couldn't be no more than, he's probably like a year younger or a year older than me. Asian doctor, Dr. Chen Lin. When I went to him, I was weighing rather 294 pounds, right? I went to him Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, the month of Thanksgiving. And so he was gonna put us on a diet. I said, no, you're not gonna put me on a diet. I'll do it in January. The typical, I'll start dieting in January, New Year's resolution, et cetera, et cetera. So nevertheless, he put me on the, he said, no, he didn't put me on a diet. He said, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna send you to get a body scan. So he sent me to Baptist Hospital to get a full body scan. My wife was with me too. She the one who actually drove me to the doctor. That's why it's really good to have a good wife. So she drove me to the doctor. I'm fighting her and the doctor at the same time about this not eating during the holidays, because that's my favorite time to eat. Nevertheless, we got the body scan, came back, and what he did was he put the body scan up on the the X-ray board or whatever, and he started pointing out the things to me that can happen, that will happen. He didn't say can happen, but that will happen within a 10-year span or something like that. And he started saying, he said, listen, he said, you see your leg. He showed us my lungs first. He said, you see your lungs? He said, this is how normal lungs look. He said, and this is how your lungs look. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a smoker. So the question is, why was my lungs looking like I was a smoker? Which means it had very little clear capacity. And what he explained to me was that the weight, and because I gained weight predominantly in the middle of my midsection. That's where I carried most of my weight at. And he said, because you have so much weight there, your weight is actually like pushing up against your lungs. So it's making your lungs look like a smoker because there was no clearance. And I'm like, damn, I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay. And then he said, you see and he pointed at one of my legs. He said, one of your legs is more stronger than the other. He was talking about the cartilage or something like that. And when he showed me the cartilage, he said, and I knew it was true because what he didn't know is I had an injury when I was younger, and 12, 13 years old, I sliced my foot open. So the tendencies never healed up correctly. So I still favor one leg more than the other. And because of that, the weight just added to that situation. And it started showing more, the favor started showing up on my cartilage. And he showed all that too. He said in about a good 10, no more than 15 years, you'll be walking with a cane. And once he showed me all that, once a man, one thing about it, a man listening when he get quiet and he don't respond anymore. And with that, because I did have a partner, and this is the both mental and physical part I want to really convey. Because I did have a partner that was going to walk the process with me and walk the discipline with me. When I started with my wife and we were both walking, so we was averaging about 3 to 4 miles a day, maybe like 4 to 5 times a week. And then we changed our diet. It's very important that you change your diet. And basically, and I like to put it this way, it's good to like lose calories and gain money. You understand? So you want to lose weight and gain money. And when you cut down on the calories, that's exactly what you do. You lose weight and gain money. And so what we did, she started walking with me and stuff like that. Within about a 6 months to a year span, I dropped about 40 pounds solid. But let's talk about real consistency. And I had to cut out, all I had to really cut out was the sugary drinks and predominantly the sugary drinks and the bread. I ain't gonna tell you to cut out the carbs, but sugary drinks and bread is what I cut out. And man, I knocked out 40 pounds in about 6 months. And so I think it also, and now I can talk to the mental aspect of it. What it did was I think I was going through an unconscious, right? Unconscious depression, because the older you get, and once certain dreams and goals are not realized, just because you're not acknowledging it doesn't mean it don't exist in your head. And I think it was that made me gain the weight. And so both of them collided and put me in really in a health crisis, both physically and mentally. So just having a good wife that walked me through it, and we were very successful to lose that weight together. And I never gained it back. Total weight I lost was 60 pounds total, and I kept all 50 of it. So it can be done. No surgery, nothing like that. So it's just a blessing just to have a good woman or even a good partner walking with you to help you with the process to keep you disciplined. 2 heads are better than one.
Lionel, we talking about mental health, physical health, right? So you went in there and started talking about your physical, right? But what I heard was the mental. And then it sparked in me, it triggered the idea of how maybe some of us, and I know that many of us as men, we want to acknowledge this. We won't take you said it, but we want to acknowledge it. We won't look at it. We'll hide it and we'll find a way to cover it up. Alcohol, drugs, women, all these things of not succeeding and feeling like we're not as successful as we wanted to be. Like that idea that I'm gonna be in the NFL, but you really, you don't make it to the NFL. You don't even make it to the high school football coaching. You just down the corner. But that doesn't mean that's the end of your world. I think that with a lot of times we don't know how to face it. So then we become, as you said, and I don't like to use the word depressed because people use these mental health terms too casually for me, because it means that everything we go through got to be a mental health diagnosis. And some of it don't. Some of it is just life. Listen, I wasn't happy in the place that I was in. I had dark thoughts. I did dark things. I gained a lot of weight. And it doesn't really matter to us as men a lot of times about gaining weight, because guess what? Nobody is saying that we got to be 185 and slim and trim. And we can be Jabba the Hutt and still say, hey, I'm over here popping. Rick Ross showed us that. You don't got to do it, but that doesn't mean that that's not what's going on with you. That doesn't mean that part of you. And sometimes we can clearly see that what is affecting us in our mental mind really begins to manifest itself in our body.
Ron, but I wanted to, and let me point out something very important what I said. And you were hitting right on it. I said I began to indulge, right? Remember I told you I started out about the indulging part? Well, the reason I had to, remember I said, because I was struggling for what I didn't achieve at a certain point in my life, or what I thought I should have achieved. So I began to indulge in what this is very clear, indulge in what I want, right? To compensate for what I didn't have.
Right.
But repeat that again, indulge in what I want to compensate for what I didn't have. And so we got to stop. I think we're very big on stereotyping drugs and alcohol use. And so we can cover up the fact that we can overindulge in so many different overeating and promiscuity just to feel like the men that we're not. And that's what my issue was.
Yeah,
And it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that because, okay, so I took it, I when I was looking at it, and I'm going to bring it back down to what Lightborn was saying also, because when I first looked at it, I was thinking of just the surface of, a mental fatigue versus a physical fatigue and how they play on each other, because sometimes your mental fatigue does come from the stressors of life. And it's very hard to detach yourself from mental fatigue versus a physical fatigue. My body being tired, I can rest. My mind being tired, I need help. And a lot of times people don't understand the difference within the two. Yes, you do need help when you're physically tired sometimes, because it is, like Lightborn was saying, sometimes we indulge ourselves and we create that unhealthy activity and a healthy lifestyle, right? But then also that mental plays on it because of the fact that we do have these, these dreams that weren't successfully achieved, or sometimes we achieve them and fail. And that also plays also huge on it, because there are a lot of goals in life that, me personally, that I tried for, that I just, I got it. I just didn't understand how to hold on to it, and I lost it. And so what do you do when that happens? It's all about the recovery and understanding that some people see failure only as a hindrance, but failure is also a learning process. The more you fail, the more you're closer to succeeding, and a lot of people don't understand that, because you have to fail sometimes, especially if you're trying, and a lot of people go about doing things on their own because they don't want to, for lack of asking for the help. And so sometimes when you're trying to achieve certain things on your own, you're going to fail. And you have to keep failing so you can understand what the success is going to look like and how to sustain the success. And I'm going to bring it back to the kids, because sometimes we stop our kids from failing when we should be allowing them to fail so they can understand success, because there are a lot of different stressors that are coming up for our kids now than when we were younger. And not saying that the lifestyles are going to be different. It's just that the way that is presented is a different way than what we were used to. And so we have to understand that and be able to allow them to also fail just like we fail, in order for them to understand the importance in failure in order to achieve success. And that all plays on the mental aspect along with the physical aspect, because we as parents sometimes we overindulge our kids in unhealthy habits and allow them. And one thing, and this is a cultural thing, and I don't know if it's in all cultures, but I know with the Haitian culture, food is food. You eat and you continuously eat, and you're often getting offered food. And if you turn down food, you make the person feel bad. So then you're put in a situation where, yeah, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna eat. So that's one of the unhealthy indulgence that we do put our kids through, is feeding them unhealthy. We have to start using practices across the board in order to create a healthy habit mentally and physically, not only for ourselves, but also just model that for the kids that are coming up behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day, and how close the physical and the mental aspect are joined, I was listening to TD Jakes the other day, and what he basically said was, I can look around the room and I can see the people in the room. I can see the chairs in the room. I can see the lights. I can see all these things. He says, but one thing I cannot see is myself. And it reminded me when I was growing up, and one of the kids, you know how kids are, the kids, they named me, my nickname became Fat Boy. So they said, oh, there's Fat Boy, hell, you Fat Boy. So that became my nickname. And I remember, and then when they first called me that, I was really hurt. You really hurt. But you know how kids just pick up a nickname and that becomes your nickname. And it's amazing how the more people call you something, the more you become that. And you can become comfortable with what people are calling you from what they've called you. And you actually can become that when that's really not your destiny. And as I grew up, I found myself actually losing the weight. And then once I got married, started gaining the weight back. So now I'm back on that journey, Lionel. I'm gonna be like you. Now I'm starting my journey to lose it again. But again, to break that mental cycle is very, very tough. It's very, very tough because you have actually taken on that anchor, like somebody just put an anchor in your hand and you holding on to it and you won't let it go. All of a sudden that becomes part of you, and it's hard to just kind of let it go.
Well, Larry, that's a deep one. That's deep. And to add to this program, add to this topic, we all have our experiences. I remember a coworker said to me once, man, you're skinny. And I said to him, I'm skinny? Okay. I said, what is your numbers? He told me his mortgage, his rent, and how much money he had in his wallet. And I said, no, I'm not asking you for those numbers. What is your BMI? What's your cholesterol? What's your blood pressure? It is very difficult. When, as you just mentioned, some things are becoming the norm. If you look on a map, say 25 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, the entire country or all over the world has to some degree put on weight, and it has become the norm. And we know that with weight, it comes with some how could I call it? It comes with there's some disadvantages with weight. It sometimes it can affect your ankles, your knees, and you could run into common diseases like diabetes and just to name a few. I think I'm a numbers guy, and Ron knows me for that. Numbers don't lie. We as I would say African American males tend to have high numbers in a lot of areas that needs to be changed. And I always say, your values show your action and your intent. Now, we talk about chasing the carrot, and I could say chasing the money. You can only chase the money for so far, for so long, so to speak. And we really need to look into our health in a big deal, in a big way. The norm is not doing what everyone else is doing. The norm is to take care of yourself. Yes, there may be someone here with some hospital background. They call us train wrecks. Do you guys know what train wrecks mean? Anyone here know what a train wreck means? Well, all right. So we know what a train wreck means. It really means that by the time you come to the doctor, it's a done deal. You're ready to go to the junkyard. The most I could say is this. Well, I didn't mean to put it that way, but the most I could say is this. We really need to make that effort to try and take care of ourselves. And so you will take care of your children, and it will be a better deal for you in the years to come. And keep in mind, as we get more mature, our seasoned citizens, our health challenges changes in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and onward. So how you have that plan to deal with your health changes. Keep that in mind, because our bodies don't perform the way it used to. So I personally take health very seriously. To be honest with you, it's the only thing you have. It's one of the most important thing you have in life. And as the Fatherhood Talks, we advocate for better health. You know, that's my opinion on brain versus brain and the physical health.
And something that Ron said earlier, which is very true, is they both go hand in hand. And how you, once you start to have a physical illness, it does affect you how you view everything mentally, you know. And it's important that like Ron was saying, is that we take care of and know those numbers, because one thing a lot of people do, and I think in the Black community also is very high, is the wishing it away. You know what I'm saying? You get diagnosed with diabetes and you're like, well, I'm still gonna eat what I want, and hopefully it's gonna go away if I just ignore it. Well, those lead to larger complications, along with, you know, heart disease and hypertension, which is, you know, having high blood pressure. Those are the things, those are like silent killers that a lot of people just don't understand, because the more you ignore it, the worse it gets. And when a lot of it can just be shifted and changed with diet and exercise. You eat right, you exercise, and not even heavy exercise. It's just 30 minutes of walking every day can change your health perspective. And a lot of times, you know, we tend to ignore those things and think that it's just going to go away, but it's not going to go away. You have to actually be mindful and take care of yourself and get those checks, like Rohan was saying. And, you know, at certain ages, you know, the stuff I was able to eat and do when I was 20, at this age of 40, it's not that easy anymore. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I'm in there, you know, and as you get older, the weight doesn't drop like it used to. You got to really work at it and keep yourself active and motivated. And one thing that I learned is that just because someone is skinny does not mean that they're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we look at heavier people and say, man, they're out of shape, they're unhealthy, when they could be very healthy. You know, there's a lot of things that play into why your weight. Genetics is one of them. Why you weigh how much you do. You know, genetics is one of those things. And just because someone is skinny doesn't mean that they're healthier than someone who is a little bit heavy set. And so again, on both sides, you still have to exercise, you still have to know those numbers, like Rohan said, because those are the things that are going to help you keep yourself maintained, not only physically, but mentally. You know, a lot of men don't want to talk about erectile dysfunction, but that, as you get over in age, you start looking at your prostate and you start ignoring that prostate, that leads to erectile dysfunction. And so you want to make sure you take care of your prostate, make sure you know those numbers, make sure you're getting checked out, your colonoscopies, everything that comes along with that, because you want to make sure inside, not only mentally, but physically, inside and outside, you know, you're doing yourself justice.
And I think, Gene, we have to, I'm going to come back to this. I don't want to say, I mean, not say, I almost said, we can't trick ourselves. Now, that's not the word I want to say. I want to say trick and use the truck with the F in front of it. We can't trick ourselves. And we do that a lot. We kind of trick ourselves into saying, oh, you know what? I'm not rushing to go to the bathroom. We tell ourselves, no, that's not. We begin to psychologically say, oh, you know, my foot hurt. Oh, it ain't nothing. It'll go away in a couple of days because I'm still this man. I'm still this person. And Rohan said it best. The best of us don't go to the hospital to recover. We go to the hospital to go to the morgue. Because by the time we get to the hospital, it's usually too late. God bless you, man, who have a wife. God bless you. Because she damn sure don't want you out of here. So she bugging and nagging you to go to the doctor all the time. She done made her appointment. She said, well, I'm gonna make our appointments together. And listen, it's important. I remember the time I was dating a young lady, and that's all she used to do. Every time she made an appointment, she was making me an appointment. And she wasn't even my wife, but she was conscious of this idea of, if I'm needing to go to the doctor, we the same age. You need to be going to the doctor. You need to be checking these things out. Oh, I know you're busy, but you ain't that busy. Here go your doctor's appointment. And I attended and went and did those things. But we gotta, I think that if we really thinking about our children and our legacy, we got to be held accountable on our welfare, on our health, and don't trick ourselves into saying I'm a big man. I'm supposed to hurt. Oh, pain, I'm supposed to just go through it. Oh, it's okay. Oh, oh, don't worry, this back is cracking. We tell ourselves that all the time. Then later on, find out, this man had cancerous tumor on his back all the time. He was just saying, oh, it's a basketball injury from back in the day. You ain't never get him checked out. We can't self-diagnose. But we do this self-diagnosis in our brain and tell us that we good. We ain't so we self-diagnose our brain, but not our body. So I just want to put that out there because it's serious, and I'm not saying it preachy wise because I did the same thing. Got too busy to go to the doctor. I made an appointment and said, "Man, I'm gonna go. I'm tired. I'm important." I'm a self. My homeboy, I think he was trying to self-medicate himself from his diabetes. You think eating some oranges, tell me, yeah, this is gonna help me. Man, it didn't help you. Die now. You mean to say I'm gonna do this? No, we gotta go and get what we need to get. And the killer is our mental. That's the problem. We talk about, if your mental bad in your body. No, sometimes our mental is the reason our body gonna really go bad because we got the bad mental to think that we are invincible. We are strong. We nothing affects us, but it does, and it's okay. It's okay to be sick. It's okay to be down. It's okay to be in your little gown and have somebody come and take care of you. It don't make you less than anybody. It make you human.
Well, we have to explain that experience. Hey, Ed, go ahead before I jump in.
So if you guys would just indulge me for a minute or two. So I'm 61. Back when I was 54, I was topping maybe 305, maybe 310. And what made me come to myself was I would always go to the doctor at the encouragement of my wife, my first wife. That doctor told me that I was on, well, let me just run it down. I had diabetes, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and it seemed like there was something else in there too. So the medicine I was taking for my diabetes at the time was pill medication. And he said, listen, we're going to have to do something to control your A1C. You're going to have to start shooting yourself with insulin. And that, to me, that was me wallowing in the mud with the pigs at that point. And so some may say I cheated. I don't think I did. I did what was best for me. I had gastric sleeve surgery after many diet tries and failures. But I'm gonna tell you, that was the best thing I could have ever done for myself, health-wise. It enabled me to lose the weight. I got down to maybe like 195 at my lowest. So I had lost at least 100 pounds or more after having the gastric sleeve surgery. Once I did that, the high blood pressure went away. The diabetes, I didn't have to take any more medication for the diabetes. The sleep apnea, gone. The high cholesterol, there's like good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. My good cholesterol was way high. I mean, it was just outstanding according to the doctor. Bad cholesterol was way low. It was outstanding. So, long story short, I didn't realize until, I guess I didn't want to be a slave to the insulin. I thought I was okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I get, you know, I'm big, I'm fat, I enjoy food, I love food, I'm a foodie. But up until, I don't know, there was just something when he said, okay, you're gonna have to take this insulin. There was something about that, you know, made something click in my brain and said, okay, I can't continue on this path anymore. And so that's when I decided to go ahead and have the gastric sleeve surgery. And it really improved my health. In fact, I just had to go to the doctor today to, it was a follow-up for my health screening. And, you know, just to hear the words from the doctor saying, outstanding, this is outstanding, you know, for a guy your age, your health, this is outstanding. Just to hear that data and the numbers. Now, for some reason, the pandemic kind of messed me up because my bad cholesterol is up and my A1C is up from 5.6 to 5.8. Right. So the data points are invaluable in order to be able to track, you know, where you are. I would encourage that, you know, you guys who go to the doctor, make sure you understand all your data points so you can track it. I can track my data points all the way. Fortunately, it's the same doctor I've been working with since I was in my 40s. So he and I, we have history, and, you know, we have frank discussions about my health. But Ron, when you talk about the mental aspects of it, I don't know what to tell you. I just thought I was okay. Mm-hmm. And it just took the doctor to just kind of, you know, slap me in the face with that insulin to change my mind and say, Ed, you're not okay. You're going to die early. You're not going to be able to see your children grow old and all this other kind of stuff. And you know, it was the thing that I did. It worked for me. I hear stories of people who have had gastric bypass and gastric sleeve surgery. They get the weight off, but after 2 or 3 years, they put the weight back on and even more weight. Fortunately for me, I've been very active in the gym, you know, just to make sure that I don't take for granted the gift of health that I've been able to acquire through that surgery. So I guess the mental thing is so important, because if you're going around thinking that you're okay and ignoring the doctor's advice on what you need to do to take care of yourself, that's a mental problem. It's a mental problem of denial, basically. And that's where I was.
You know, I want to just be right quick, like, because I know you want to say something. But something that Ed just said is important. He was walking around thinking he's okay, right? The body is such a interesting mechanism, because it will adapt itself in order for you to be able to function. one of the things, the reason why they call certain things like high blood pressure a silent killer, because you could walk around, like when you first get high blood pressure, it gives you headaches. You have those symptoms of headaches and other things that happen to your body. But then the body will adjust to that high blood pressure and allow you to function. But it will only do it for so long before it has to give itself out, because it starts to overwork itself. And then when it starts to give itself out, that's when you start to have all the other complications that are sometimes irreversible because it's way too late. And so one thing you got to do is like everyone's saying on this on this tonight is make sure you know those numbers. Don't wait till you're sick to go to the doctor. Go to the doctor when you're healthy, so they have a baseline to know when you come back and there's a problem, they have something to refer back to. Oftentimes, we only go to the doctor when we're sick, and I'm guilty of that. I'll go to the doctor when I don't feel good, and then I'll get checked up, and he's like, well, how do you normally? And I'm like, well, I haven't been to the doctor in like over a year, so I really don't know. I can only give you those numbers. But it's good to get checked up as often as you possibly can, and from different type of professionals. It's not just going to your general doctor, because they're good for certain things, but then when you want to get other things checked out, you may need to go to a proctologist or a urologist in order to get other things looked at because of your age and everything else like that. So it's important that don't just walk around thinking that you're fine, but also get yourself physically checked out. So go ahead, Lionel. I'm sorry about that.
I'm sitting here and thinking about all my enablers, because I chose my enablers wisely, right? And so you have to choose. You got to choose people who just validate your bad habits. I chose my my enabling heroes, right? And so when I was gaining all my weight, to justify me gaining the weight and still keep me with the swag and my coolness, because I wanted to be a cool fat boy. So I had to find some cool fat boys to validate me being a fat boy. And so one of my heroes was Tony Soprano. I was really big when the Sopranos was. And so because Tony Soprano had the type of lifestyle he had as that particular character in the Sopranos, and then and when it comes to your your fictional characters like that, and then you find your non-fictional enablers and supports talking about, I might find some girls talking about, oh, I like them big boned. You understand? When I don't have a big bone, I wasn't big boned, I was big assed. But but it's amazing how people won't tell you. You understand? For the sake of if it's a woman, maybe for the sake of loneliness, she made them say, oh, okay, she'll make you sexy just to validate or just get the attention of your companionship. Then you had, of course, the Sopranos and stuff like that. And I'm like, listen, no matter how as long as you get the money, no matter how big you are. But at the end of the day, money came by health. And in reality, we found that out with him because he passed away way before he's supposed to. And particularly not because of the man he played on TV, but the man he was in reality. And so as a result of that, I had to really wake up and essentially grow up, per se, and realize to our defense as men, that's not a conditioning for us. Health is not a conditioning. It's not a mandatory conditioning for us. It's a mandatory conditioning for a woman, because she's going to be getting that from probably the time she got her period. And so she's going to get her yearly checkup just to make sure everything is on point. Most mothers, and I'm talking about she don't have to be the most caring mother. She could be halfway caring, but she's going to make sure that daughter goes to the doctor probably more than the son. But and then when you start to grow into young adulthood, and then women it becomes a rites of passage for a woman as opposed to a man. So doctor's appointment is a rites of passage for women. I don't know too many women that wouldn't get their checked up via mammogram and pap smears. That rites of passage they're taking advantage of, and they're conditioned to have that as a rites of passage into womanhood versus a man, because again, for a woman, there's a lot of external issues that they may derive from that, by smells and different things like that. So it's a rites of passage just to keep them physically healthy as opposed to mentally healthy. But as a man, again, what's going to be our point of reference what's going to be our rites of passage to go into the doctor, what's going to make it mandatory for a young man who's going to be transitioning to a middle-aged man to an older man. And that's the and not so much the discussion, but I would think it's the discipline and the message that the reconditioning, that's the word I'm looking for. The reconditioning to put out there to convey to our young boys who are going to be transitioning to young men and eventually middle-aged men and older men.
I could, Ron, okay.
No, Lonnie, you bring up a valid point that, you know, and it almost goes hand in hand. I talk about this a lot about puberty for our young adolescents and what happens in puberty, where the idea that puberty for young ladies is a rites of passage. It is very identified that this is what happens. Even when I speak to some of the young students, you know, listen, dude, a young student can, I mean, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be like, hey, you can wait. Young lady sat down to the bathroom. I immediately tell them, oh, go ahead, dear, go ahead. And sometimes we have socially kind of not acknowledged that young men do have puberty. It's just not that there's something happening at that moment that you can recognize, but emotionally, you know, as well as physically, their body's going through some ultimate, you know, gigantic changes that we take for granted. You know, you think if you see this boy when he come into school, he's small, he big, chubby little kid talking like, hey, how you doing? And then by the time he get ready to leave your school, he's like, hey, Mr. Johnson, with a beard. Listen, that's a dramatic change that happened to that. He's standing over top of you, standing over everybody. And that's a dramatic change for us to just kind of like take and let it go. But because I almost think because we do that, it also allows us to be what we're having this conversation as men and as fathers about how, what changes in our body don't matter. How the hospital and those issues don't matter. I hear Black women all the time talk about, you know, the deficit in healthcare when it comes to Black women and the health profession, you know, getting the kind of service they need. And I sometimes hear and I laugh about it, not in a laugh of, that there's something right and that shouldn't be happening. I laugh because you know what? You never hear no men talking about the discrepancy in healthcare because their ass ain't going, so they don't know. We don't even know it's no. We don't listen. We what we know is when we show up there, they putting the thing on us saying, Ed said it right. Ed said it right. If he did made the change, who knows? It's just like we kind of don't do it. And we're making a reason why we don't, excuse, but it's also a conditional thing. That same conditional thing that told us that our puberty didn't matter. It has no real issue because it's not something that can be seen. It's not something that people know, but it goes on inside us. And we take that into our adulthood saying, oh, you know what? My wife or my girlfriend can barely breathe and we got the same symptom, but she the one weak, not me. I'm just keep on not breathing. She done went to the doctor, got the medicine. I done slipped some of the pills and I feel better taking the pill, but I still ain't going to get my own pills. These are the kind of things we have to really start putting ourselves in
See, but
in the loop.
Ron, that it's funny when Black men go to the doctor, and I had this problem for years and ended up going to 3-4 different doctors. Whenever a Black man goes to the doctor, they'll tell you the doctor's not in or the doctor's busy right now, and you end up seeing the doctor's assistant. Okay, and you go in, and the first couple of times you'll take it because you're really not used to the system, that kind of thing. But like every time you'll notice that the third, the fourth time, you never see the doctor. You say, well, listen, no, I want to see the doctor. Oh, well, the doctor's busy right now. You can't see the doctor. Well, listen, I pay like everybody else. Why can't I see the doctor? And finally, the doctor come in and is almost belligerent that you ask for her or him. It's like, don't you see I'm busy? You just a Black man. You know, why are you even asking for me? You know, I changed doctors 3 or 4 times because I had the same experience each place I went until I found a doctor that says, okay, I'm gonna see you, and I'm gonna see you. You know, no, you won't be seeing anybody else but me. You know, and black men, I don't know about you all, but I found that to be an experience whenever I used to go to the doctor, and they don't respect you in that field to even that, like, I'm not even gonna give you enough respect to even see the doctor. Just see the physician's attendant, and she'll take care of you, or he'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. But no, but that's what we deal with as black men.
You know
Larry,
what?
a quick one.
Mhm.
4% of in the early 70s, we had about 20% of doctors to 80 of African American doctors. Today, it's gone down to 4%. What we've seen over the years is a decrease with people looking like us being doctors. And that is a big problem, because what happens most of the time, if you, as you mentioned, he or she doesn't live your life. They can, to some degree, they can communicate with you, but they can't relate to you. So there's a perception that as a African male or minority, let me say that, I don't like that word, but they tend to believe that, you know, I'm not going to give him no medication, because guess what? He's not going to take it anyway. These people, they live on the other side of town where they can't think about vegetables when they're trying to pay their rent. So there's that pre mindset where dealing with you is not. I'm tired of dealing with you folks, because you come in, I talk to you, you come in, it's the same result. So if we can change that paradigm where we have more African American, more people who look like us, let me say that are on the other side of the fence, then we are able to have a better relationship. And that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen by we as fathers going to advocate for our children to be a doctor. Not go get a job. You ever watch that movie where the guy said, Mom, there's no milk in the house? And the guy said, I think Mom said, go get a job. You know, I never forget that movie, but we have to not only go get a job, go get a career.
Yeah, and we have to learn to advocate for ourselves, you know, for our own health history. You know, the last doctor that I went to that, I go to 2 now, but the one doctor I went to is a Jewish guy, and they stopped me at the window, and they said, well, what kind of insurance do you have? And I said, oh, okay, you know, I've got United Healthcare and that kind of thing. And so they came to me, and my wife actually had gone with me, and she was waiting in the car. And the lady comes back to me, she says, oh, no, we don't take that. We don't take United Healthcare. And this happened to be my wife's doctor. So, and she had the United Healthcare. So I go back and I said, well, they wouldn't take me. She said, why? I said, they wouldn't take my insurance. They said, United Healthcare? I said, yeah. She said, I got United Healthcare. She says, oh, hell no. So she goes back in the office. She started raising big hell. Okay. To the point that the lady calls, and it turns out that they not only take the coverage, they prefer to take the coverage that I had. Wow. But it just goes to show you that preconceived notion, because I'm a black man walking in, it just changed everything. It changes everything. So if you don't advocate for yourself, and in this particular case, I didn't even advocate for myself. My wife did. And it turned out well, but you will get turned around quick as a black man, and you will receive inferior type of service.
Well, you're right about that. For me, that they would have been doing me a favor, because I didn't want to be any goddamn way. Excuse my language. So you were just doing me a favor. You just proving the reason why right. You just proving the reason why I said I wasn't gonna go. You understand? All you have to do is just give me another reason. And so, but in my situation, it's totally opposite, because where I kind of received favors, because the doctor, even though he was of Asian descent, he tended to be my age. So we had some commonality, and we had generational commonality. And so we had something to actually connect on, not to mention he has a huge population of African-American patients. But I know some phenomenal doctors. I know some phenomenal medical movement that took place, and I think between Dade and Broward County, in Miami. I'm talking about physician movements, medical clinics, community. One of the major community, community health models may have started in Miami-Dade County. I know the mental health one did. With Dr. Bestman. Now I do know that factually. She's one of the major writers of the community mental health model that spans over maybe close to 50 years now. So I know Evelina Bestman is definitely one of those. She's a pioneer. But they also had a community medical health that you will see in Dade and Broward County. Down here it's called Jesse Trice, which is they have a few, of course, they have a few from county line to county line. They have community health clinics where you can go and get the help from people that look like you. So we do have the doctors. I won't say we don't have the doctors. I know two personally, one very young, he got to be under 40. I wouldn't even put him in his mid 30s. And then another young lady who's probably in her 40s who goes to church with me. And so it's just finding them. I think with Black people, and this is a double-edged sword with us, I would prefer, and I probably will, change my primary physician to an African-American, being the young lady who go to church with me, Dr. Tyler, because she is African-American and she has put the work in, and she's well more than credible and competent enough to be my primary physician. The double-edged sword with that, why she's not my primary physician, is because Black people, unfortunately, is very loyal. And so who we start with, we finish with Black, white, whatever. And this is why so many people can move in of different races can move into Black communities and excel even when we don't. And it's because of our loyalty. And our loyalty is where our love lives. You understand? We just have a natural love for humanity. So I'm never going to be mad at us for loving people the way God said we ought to, even if they take advantage of us. And the Bible got scripture for that too. But but nevertheless, yeah, that's something I would do. But what you would have to do is make the experience what it is. And with my wife, she changed a lot. And I'm gonna be honest with you, you would I think my pastor, he had and I got, I'm a well-known pastor. And my pastor, it's public knowledge that he had a major stroke. I didn't know it was bad as it was at the time. But a friend of mine said what his doctor told him. He said, one thing you need to have to avoid dying from a heart attack or stroke, one of the major things you need to have. And the guy was like, what? And he went through all these litanies of answers and stuff like that. And you know what he told him? To prevent you from dying from a heart attack or stroke?
What's that?
A wife. He said, wife. Because truthfully, my pastor wasn't almost died. I mean, literally, he was dead. He was at 80. He's about at 80-20 when it comes to death. And the only reason he was at an 80-20 is because he didn't have a wife. And had he had a wife, she would have got him early. They didn't find him until maybe the 12 or more hours later after the stroke and heart attack.
Wow.
And so it's by the grace of God and a sheer miracle that he's even up and still alive this day. And so I think that when it comes to, we talked about the mental health, we got to think about, okay, what impact does relationship have on our mental health? And how does relationship contribute to our mental health? And so if you think, and particularly being a middle-aged man to a middle-aged to getting ready to go down that hill, if you haven't even trained the basic strategy on how you address relationships and see the value in your relationships, then yes, guess what? I don't care how fit you are, just a matter of time, because I know a lot of fit guys have left here too. I have about 3 friends that was very fit. One they used to call Hulk. He used to work at the and he died in his 40s. He's younger than me. And I'm talking about a guy who was in the gym every day. This guy lived in the gym. And he died, and it was a big shock to everybody. I think, and I just learned that Tina Turner lost another son, and he was 62. And I mean, they was like, we didn't even see it coming. He said he couldn't breathe, and then boom, he went quick. And if you look at this guy, back to Ron's point, this guy looked more fit than I was. Slim, slender, tall, not very attractive looking guy. Don't look like he had not 1 ounce of fat on his body, and he just died. And so, yeah, don't let the what they say, don't let the weight fool you. It can happen to anybody. Depends on what your family history was. My family history was, and what the doctor said with me was something I'd never heard of ever in my life. He said, "Man, you threatening CHF." I'm like, well, what the hell is CHF? He said, congestive heart failure. And so I'm like, and so that with the weight was just weighing down, and what it did was it took away from the beats of my heart. Now I didn't know, again, how am I supposed to know about that? And so thank God I still have an average to, average above, below average, not above average, but average heartbeat. But it could have been so much better had I caught it.
You know what? I also want to jump on I can't remember who said it, talking about the medication. And also changing your doctors and stuff like that. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Larry, that's who said it. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself when it comes to these doctors. And I agree wholeheartedly with Lightborn. A lot of times we have that loyalty to the doctor, even if they're terrible to us, even if they treat us badly, you still go to that doctor. Don't be afraid to change your doctor. Find the one who's going to, because a lot of times you have doctors that don't listen to you. And if they don't listen, there's no way that you can get better. And I'm going to say that. There's no way you can get better if they don't listen. Because sometimes they'll prescribe a medication that doesn't agree with your body. And rather than, because your doctor doesn't listen, you continue to take that medication. You continue to feel bad. Then rather than change your medication through your doctor, you stop taking medication. It just hurts you in the long run. And so one thing you have to do is you have to be able to advocate for yourself and say, hey, look, this medication does not do my body right. There has to be something else out there. And allow yourself to advocate in order for you to get yourself better. Because there's no greater advocate. I mean, like Larry and a lot of people said, your wife can help you out, but you have to cross over that finish line. The only thing they can do is get you started. You have to be the one to finish it yourself. Be willing to put in that time, to put in that effort, and to advocate for yourself, because again, no one knows your body like you do.
It's funny that you say that, because for years and years and years, I struggled with my blood pressure. And I go to the doctor. I mean, I'm going to the doctor every 6 months. And I'm saying, this is not working. This is not working. And don't worry about it. Just try it a little 6 more months, and then they might try something else. And but it was like they didn't care. And it just so happened, my wife said, because she takes blood pressure medication as well, and she said, you know what? Why don't you try one of mine? I said, no, I don't want to try. No, just try. Well, what's it gonna do? Hurt you? Make it go up? No. Why don't you try one of mine? I took that pill and my blood pressure dropped 40 points on one pill. Okay. Now, this is the crazy part. I didn't even get to the crazy part. I go to the doctor because now I'm all excited. We have found the answer. The doctor says, you know what he says? No, I'm going to give you another pill. I'm going to check. No, you don't want to take that. You want to take this. I said, no, I want to take this. You sure you want to take that? Yes. I've been coming to you all this time and you've done nothing for me. You found the answer and now you want to change the answer? Are you crazy? But it's amazing the kind of stuff that goes on in the health field.
Well, a quick to add to that, Larry, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Many other countries apply to health socially. Socially meaning that the government has some play into the food that people eat. The government has some play into, they put a bag of chips. Some countries, the salt is separate from the chips. So you get the choice to choose how many salt you like to put on the chips. Where in other countries, salt is the main diet. It's all over the chips. It's in the ingredient. So many, the healthcare, I believe in the United States, is expanding. And the reason is it is expanding because it is a profitable business. If you were to Google how much money these hospitals make a year, you would probably jump off a bridge, because what's happening, people are getting sick. Somebody's making money. Now, don't get me wrong. Every one of us need to be responsible for our health. That is my opinion. But don't forget, whenever someone is sick, there's money to be made. Now, the old school pill, or you mentioned a pill, is simple. You need sun, you need to exercise, you need to eat moderately, and you need to drink water. But many people go to a doctor, and I can give a story from a Haitian lady. I knew she came to me, complain. Well, she had a concern. I said, "What's wrong?" She said, I went to the doctor. I'm feeling pain. I went to the doctor, and the doctor said to her, "Do you have sex?" So she said, What kind of question is that for you to ask me? That's rude." And the doctor says, "I can't continue giving you pills. You should have sex." No, that doctor went, I would say, on the bridge, and may not have had that kind of relationship, being that the culture may be different. But look at the scenario here. She is feeling pain, she has anxiety, and she keep on going back for a pill. And many people would like to take a pill to fall in love, to go to sleep. Actually, right now, the diabetes medication, the people who have diabetes right now can't get the medication. Do you know why? Do you guys know why they can't get medication? It's advertised, it may help you lose weight. And that statement alone, that the pill will help you lose weight, you have people buying the pill who are just trying to lose weight, while the diabetics can't get a pill for their diabetes. Many people everybody wants what they call it, I call it again, the easy button. You guys know the easy button? You take you press that easy button, and everything just happens. In life, there really isn't an easy button. So Lawrence, we have to make changes. There's no easy button, and no pill. And let me tell you guys this too. Do you know where those pills are made? I bet if no one in this group can tell me where that pill is made. Does anyone know where the pill is made?
Probably China.
No, my friend, it's made in Tijuana, Mexico.
Tijuana, okay.
Okay, so remember, keep in mind, why is it made in Tijuana, Mexico? Why is it being shipped across the border coming here? You gotta follow the money. I always say that, and even in healthcare, because there are many people who are dying out here, who are chronically stressed, who are trying to survive, and they're being milked, for a better word.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, there's a big push, and there has been a big push for a while for preventative care, right? And what preventative care is now, if you notice, insurances are giving you more incentives to go to the doctor before you get sick, because as they notice, they do a lot of payouts after you're sick, right? Because once you're in the hospital, now the insurance has to kick in to pay your hospital bills, has to pay for all this stuff. And so what they say now is too many people are sick, losing money. So preventative measures are the best way in order for them to continue to be profitable. So preventative is going to see the doctor when you're not sick. It's trying to catch issues prior to them becoming bigger than they are. So like in let's see Eddie's example of when he had diabetes, he's above those numbers with the A1C. Now, I don't know if anyone knows what A1C is, but A1C is that determining number to tell you whether you are diabetic or you're not diabetic. If you're a 7 or more, you're diabetic. If you're below a 7, there's a range where you're below 7. I think it is from like 5 something to about 6.
Yes.
6.
5
6,
to 6, yeah.
5 or something like that, where you're borderline, right? And anything below that, you're okay. So I got to check those numbers. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head. But, knowing that helps you when you're preparing to deal with certain issues. And when they catch those things early, you can combat it with just diet and exercise. A lot of times you can get off a lot of the medications that you're prescribed if you change the way you eat, you go out, you do a little bit of exercise, and then you monitor yourself on a on a timely basis, like every 6 months, every 3 months, depending on what the issue is. You want to make sure you're getting screened accordingly in order to make sure that what you're doing is getting you better. Because until you start to do that and become, do regular things, the doctors won't know what's going on, whether they can take you off of medication. Like a lot of the time, the issues, unless it's a genetic issue, the issues that you are having can be cured through means, because when you think about it, a lot of the medications that they give you is straight from nature. They just can't patent nature, right? When you're growing up, a lot of the things that your parents used to make, those herbal teas, pulling leaves off the backyard, giving you this tea because you got a cold, giving you this because you got the flu. A lot of it comes from nature. They can't patent nature. They can't sell you nature. So if you start to take care of yourself, start monitoring what it is that you're eating, start reading those food labels, because just because it says low sodium doesn't mean they didn't substitute it with something else that's going to mess you up. And so you want to start reading the food labels, understanding those food labels, and getting yourself into a better position in order to be healthier. Because I don't want to get too much into other economical issues like food deserts and what they call those food deserts, where you don't have access to healthy food. But if you can take the time to just monitor what it is that you have access to, and even I don't want to say limit, but eat in moderation of the stuff that you have access to, it does change the way your health will progress. Because even good food, if you eat it too much, it becomes toxic. So everything must be done in moderation, and you have to eat everything in moderation.
A quick one to add up the mention about the A1C, guys. Just to mention what Lightburn mentioned. A1C measures your sugar. Okay, if you go to if you may see some diabetics take a prick on your finger, and you can read the sugar level at that point. But what the A1C does, it goes back like 3 months. It gives a history of your sugar. So it's a very good test to do, because it gives a history of your sugar to that point. So I just want to mention that also. It's a very good test to do, the A1C.
And as you do that, I'm going to share, since you went there, everyone's taking us there. I just want to, for people who are watching and anybody who's interested, I'm going to share this event that is happening on Saturday, the program that I part of, the 2022 Men's Mental Health Conference. And it's funny because Rohan, you spoke a little bit about the doctor asking the lady about the sex. And that's what I'll be speaking about on this conference, is sex and mental health, and how this is a big part of where we at with our sexuality, and how is it affected by our mental health. Our health affects it, but probably even more than our health, our mental health, what we're thinking about, affects us even more. So I just wanted to share that with the audience that's watching. I'll put the link in the chat so you can utilize that. And if you're interested, it's men only. So if men are watching, fathers, if you're watching, definitely come on and get some knowledge about the mental health issues that's going on, because it can never go wrong. Getting some information, just like you come here every Tuesday to get the information from us on different topics and what have you. I just wanted to put that out there again. It's on Saturday, December 17th at 10 a.m. So it'll probably be over by 12. They got us on a tight schedule, but it will be interactive. I know that much. I just wanted to share that. And if there's any final thoughts, conversation that we're going to have tonight before we go into this chat, I think we have had a very fruitful, informing conversation tonight. And I think it's a real conversation that we don't see men or fathers really having about the real facts about our health and how we get to some of these health issues because of our mind, what we think and how we think. So there's this battle between our mental and our physical health doesn't have to be a battle. It can be merged into us being one powerful shut your mouth.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that because my wife wanted me to share the story as well. That doctor visits, we started to use them as dates. And because most of the time when you go to doctor's visits, they tell you not to eat for a certain amount of hours or something like that, particularly when you got some type of specialist thing going on or when they need to do certain procedures. And so what we did was made it a practice now. So we would look more towards where we would look to going to the doctor or our doctor visit. We started using those visits as a date, just another way to date. And so not only just going to the doctor visits became a date, walking became a date. And then we found out that just dating each other just started to evolve into even not saying our other dating practices wasn't healthy, but to find healthier ways to actually date each other was something that I couldn't have found had I not been in a relationship. So you have to find your partner. I think that every health practice or process, for every successful person that's in some type of health practice or process has some type of partner, be it a spouse or just a good friend or a workout partner. And I think that's very essential when it comes to staying consistent in what you are and who you are.
And I'd like to add a quick one too. Okay, this is what the podiatrist told me. How many shoes do you have? And I told him 20 shoes. He says, you got 20 shoes? He says, which one do you use every day? I said, well, I use one pair of shoes to wear to work. He says, oh, so you have 19 pair of shoes that you don't use. And you have one shoes that you live in, so to speak. And he said to me, you need at least 2 to 3 pairs of working shoes. Because what happened, you're in that shoes all the time. And that shoes get beaten 24/7. And you should change your shoes every 6 months. And you can do short exercises. Take the stairs. Stop drinking the sugar bombs. The small steps towards health is one of the best way to go. Have good sleep hygiene. And that you can look up online. There are many little things we can do to start making the change towards better health. And keep in mind, you don't want to end up in the cage. And I talk about the cage all the time. In prisons, many of those prisons are cage holding people who are mentally ill. They're mentally ill and they're in a cage, waiting to be released again. So there are many, we don't want to go into the topic, but there are many small things we can do to advocate for ourselves and to advocate for our children, most of all, and make it a better world.
All right. Hey, we started a little bit late, but look like we ended right on time. I mean, this has been again fruitful. I want to thank Eddie for sharing his story, Lawrence, Lionel. You guys really able to be transparent, disclosing some of your personal business tonight, hopefully to help someone else learn what they need to do, or how they need to do it, and what needs to happen to manage this mental and physical health that we need to take care of. Again, we'll let anybody who's interested tomorrow. We'll be doing a closed father meeting. The topic is this men's health. It's men's health, so we'll be following up with this, as well as men's health issues, things of that nature. We will we'll be back here next Tuesday. And as we know, we keep going. I want to thank the panelists and guys, you could repeat after me. I am. No, guys, I said that I am.
I am
I am a man of honor.
I am a
I'm a
man.
man of honor.
I am,
I am.
I am,
I
I am
I am a man of courage.
am a man.
Man
of
of
courage.
courage.
I am,
I
I
am.
am
I am,
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a
man
man
of
of
respect.
respect.
I say, fathers, I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are
We
We
are
are
championship.
championship
fathers.
fathers.
Say it out loud. That's right.
Yes, sir.
And remember, we always flexing, but we're not flexing for our muscles. We're flexing for our families, our kids under our arms, and our family, and our families on our back. Thank you for joining us. Join us here again next week at Fatherhood Talks. And fathers, if you want to, join us tomorrow night on the private Zoom meeting, Fatherhood Talk Think Tank. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Thank you.